is up, everybody? You're listening to another episode of the Stay Tranquilo podcast, where we're here to help you stress a little bit less and enjoy a whole lot more. I'm here with Nelson Fernandez and Danny Del Rio, bunch of financial guys that they know their stuff when it comes to money. So I thought it would be cool to bring them both on. So Danny, I'll start with you. If you want to introduce yourself, let people know a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so just background. Obviously, Danny Del Rio went to Columbus High School. Previously went to Timothy before that. Went to FAU for soccer. Spent some time playing semi-pro as well. Transitioned to the finance world as a financial advisor. Obviously, enjoyed it since. Relocated back to Miami. I was in Boca previously. About a year and a half ago now. And now about 3 months in of my own firm. So just taking next steps from there, man.
Nice, man. That's awesome.
Great moves, Danny. My name's Nelson. I graduated from FIU. I love. Yeah, of course. Everything Miami. I mean, I live in Orlando now, though. I've been in the finance game for a little bit more than a year, and yeah, I love what I do. So
awesome, cool.
We can be of service today.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, yeah, just a little bit of background. I mean, I went to high school with both these guys. I played baseball with Nelson, and I've known Danny from Columbus as well. So, common theme is Columbus and just kind of the network and brotherhood that brings. So that's been awesome. But before we get into it, a little rundown of why we're doing this episode today. Obviously, money and finances is a big topic amongst everyone. From saving money, how to spend money, just getting advice on what's best practices when utilizing money. Money is a tool. It's something that we all deal with at some capacity. So it's something that we wanted to bring on because, as awesome of a tool it is, it can bring a lot of stress into people's life. And the main theme about this podcast is how can we, manage stress? How can we alleviate stress in our life? So, Danny, I'll start with you. I know you started High Rise Wealth Management. Can you tell us a little bit about that? What your plans are with that company and how you kind of got involved in that?
Yeah, man. So it's got obviously. I've been in the industry probably about running up to 5 years now. I was with a firm, Equitable Advisors, did very well. Enjoyed it. Came down for VP role. All that was great. But just found myself in the same situation. Always enjoying and building it how I want to. Making sure my clients get the best experience. Making sure it's most efficient, right? So it's been going really well. We've gone month over month now. It's going to be in December. Since we started of surpassing expectations. But just seeing where it's looking at moving down the line, it's more of, obviously expanding to 3 different niches is really what we want to do. We're eventually going to develop teams for those niches, but it's really working on the professional side, right? So any professionals, right? Accounting, law, obviously, medical, et cetera, where we would have that niche, and then we would have a separate team and niches for businesses right now that we're obviously currently, working with. And then the third one is pro athletics. So next year we are hopefully going to be able to launch that niche more effectively, as we do have clients already as it is, but just kind of more expanding on that and making it more enjoyable, obviously relating back to my past.
Dope. That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. So Nelly, tell us a little bit about kind of what you're doing right now on your end. I know you're working for a company right now, but tell us a little bit about kind of what you do on your side.
Correct. So pretty much the same thing as Danny was saying. I try to find more and more people to help in my community. I moved to Orlando a little bit more than a year ago, and I'm more than 100 clients already that I've been able to help out, start saving for retirement, protect our assets for the future. And for me right now, it's just keep growing. I think Danny's been in the game a little bit longer, so he's in a different stage. But
cool.
Right now, it's just build a bigger business currently for me.
Nice, awesome. So one of the main topics that I wanted to talk about today, and something that I think as young working class guys is becoming more relevant in our lives is investing, right? So I wanted to get both your guys' perspective and obviously it's a dialogue, so feel free to chime in, and if you guys have differences, I'm open to those differences. That's what this is about. So, investing 101, obviously, like when it comes to financial planning and, what you read out there, the 50-30-20 rule is one of the most popular, I guess, money planning rules out there, right? So 50% of what you make goes towards, bills, 30% goes towards leisure entertainment, and then the 20% is to be put away towards, savings, I guess, investing falls into that. So I wanted to get your guys' perspective on that, and what you guys think on that, and then what if there's a better plan, what is the best approach in terms of how should we break down how we spend our money, and whoever.
So I can start that off. So I think that's a great guideline, especially for people that are at a young age starting investing, starting looking at their future. But it really depends on when you start.
Yeah.
If you start later, maybe in your 30s or 40s, you might have to do more than 20% towards investing. You might have to flip to 30% or more, depending on when you start and what you do with your money. So some people don't like taking much risk, and that's something that at times you have to take the necessary risks to make sure your money grows at a rate that will be helpful enough for you in the future to be able to sustain yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think everyone wants to work forever. Okay, some people do, and that's great. No. But even if you do, there's times once you're 70, 80, it's a lot harder to work those 40,
there's 50, a physical component
hours.
That you just can't do it.
Exactly. So the goal, I think, for most people is to be able to own more of their time as you get closer to retirement or whatever that looks like for you, but just not depend on your paycheck as your only income. I think it's one of the biggest things that we help out with.
Like having multiple sources, essentially, whether it's coming through investing or...
Most of the time it's investments, or you can invest your time. It's not necessarily money, but investing money is usually the easiest.
Yeah.
Because it's hands off.
Exactly, and it does the work
There's a lot of avenues.
Okay. What's your approach?
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback off of his, the time is a big aspect to it, right? So when you go to sit and build a financial plan with somebody, I also hear a lot of people, all my friends say, these funds, I saw this online, the 50-30-20 rule.
Yeah.
But just like you said, it's going to differ. It's never the same plan. Like I have two people that make the same amount of money, do the same job, pretty much same amount of people in their family, but their plans are completely different.
Yeah.
So it's really just, kind of figuring that whole aspect out. But investing 101, the best sense to do it is that investing is not even the first part, right? Anybody needs a financial plan, right? You could definitely go get an index fund and kind of build that up. If you want to be passive on it, but there's still a plan in place, right? Liquidity, your risk tolerance, and then tying all into, what do you want your day-to-day look like, 5-10 years from now, and are you on target, etc. So investing 101 really going to start on the planning side, writing your goals down, etc. So that's pretty much the head start that I'll take there.
Okay, cool. And then from an investment standpoint, right? So, all right, cool. I'm going to invest 20% of whatever I'm making. Where should I invest my money?
So I would say, again, it's going to vary from person to person for sure. I've had this conversation back and forth on the index funds. It's going to be a plus or minus, right? For example, I'll tell you this is that if you're going to see your wealthy individuals, right, or accredited investors, you want to use that word.
Yeah.
Those individuals, rarely ever going to use an index fund. And there's reasons behind it. Index funds are great, right? They're low cost. You still have your goal in mind. But it's not necessarily the best investment, right? So I'll give you an example is that, 25-year-old coming in, right, they're making $40,000, $50,000 a year, and they're setting up their retirement account. An index fund, the S&P 500, may not be the best scenario because there's more aggressive funds like small caps, mid caps, and et cetera, right? And then in there, you want to make sure that you're not just tracking the Russell. Maybe you have more of an advanced, let's say, for example, mutual fund or ETF, where they're actually tracking certain sectors, right? So that's the really complicated part behind it. But in regards to where to invest that 20%, that 20%, you got to make sure that you just have liquidity out of it. If you're young, you go as aggressive as you want. If you have that liquidity to fall back on any recession. But if you do not have any liquid money to cover expenses, people say 3 to 6 months. But if you're someone who gets nerve-wracking when the market goes down, make it 12.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, then obviously, you got to be careful.
Yeah, okay. And do you want to kind of, either one of you, but you spoke on index funds. Index funds is something that seems like a common theme across the board. You want to tell us a little bit about what exactly kind of like an index fund is for someone that may not know?
Yeah, sure. So first, there's a lot of different index funds. There are a lot of indices that you can track. The most popular one usually is the S&P 500. That's the 500 biggest companies in America. And usually that's done very well historically. And the great thing about that index fund is, like you said, it was low cost. But there's things that do more or average more over time.
They bring you a bit bigger return over time.
Correct. So I personally think there's always a portion that should be in that because I think it's low cost, it's stable, depending on taxes and other things. So when you get to the accredited investor part, it's a little bit different. But for someone that's just starting, that's a great place to start. But at times, I don't always recommend people just to invest if they don't know what they're investing in. So that's where what we do helps so much.
Yeah.
So if you do your homework, you understand what you're doing, it might be okay for you to do that. But as your wealth grows, as your nest egg grows, and your decisions aren't $100 decisions, they're thousands and tens of thousands of dollars decisions, that's where someone that's professional helps a lot.
Okay, cool. Makes sense. Obviously, huge thing going on right now is cryptocurrency, right?
Of course.
So we can't talk money and not talk crypto at this point. So cryptocurrency is a big component that people are kind of putting their money into. I guess, can you tell us a little bit what exactly is crypto, right? I mean, I still think some people don't even understand the concept of crypto. First off, and then we could get a little bit into like, what are some good coins to invest in? Should we even be investing in crypto? But can you give us a little bit of a background?
So
about what crypto is?
I'm not the biggest crypto fan. I do believe that long term it has some use, but there is a lot of risk. So for younger individuals, if you do your research and you find that this is suitable for you, you can go ahead. But it's like Warren Buffett doesn't like it, and he's a guy, he's old
school guy.
Yeah, he's not going to change, but his theory is if you're investing over a long period of time,
right,
you're going to become wealthy.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah, he's a big believer in the whole aspect of the compound interest.
Correct.
And letting your money just do the
that
work.
being said, I don't think it's a bad idea to have some crypto. I wouldn't make your whole portfolio.
Of course.
So
well, they always talk about diversifying your portfolio,
correct,
right? So I think crypto is an avenue if it's the right crypto or however you want to put it. That it may make sense to be. What's your perspective on crypto?
So one of the reasons why I left was the modern kind of change into the modern idea, right? Our industry isn't heavily regulated in the sense of crypto, right? They haven't gotten to that sense yet.
But they're starting to,
right?
yeah.
But we are obviously heavily regulated in general, so we do have to obviously be careful what we say and so forth.
Okay.
In regards to my outlook on it, right? Just like you said, obviously a portion is nothing wrong with that. I wish obviously there was a lot more confirmation on what's going to be the one that we're going to be able to use and transact and so forth. Obviously there's a lot of different platforms you can use and networks, but in regards to just the total outlook, I think it is the future at one point.
Yeah.
Whether it's going to be a digital currency of
Well, you have countries, I think it's like Venezuela that have adopted it as a form of currency.
Yeah, it's done that. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be a thing. It's not just going to pass away. But in regards to like NFTs and cryptos and stuff like that, all that's kind of it is a future. It is pretty much an evolution of what we went from gold to the dollar to now. And a lot of people, I'll give you this last little bit of it, is a lot of people say that realistically, crypto has no value behind it, which is true. There's a lot of them that don't. But Swiss Bank just came out with one that's backed by actual physical gold. And they're going to continue to do things like that where it's going to be tied to the dollar, etc. So transactions are going to change, and will we see the dollar leave in a lifetime? Probably not, but will we see, obviously more transactions happening elsewhere?
Definitely.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so too.
One thing real quick, I think, like you said, transparency might be the biggest thing right now. Because we think we know more and more, but I feel like there's still something.
It's a big block behind it.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like there's things behind the scene that we don't really know. We don't know enough about.
It's like if you look at the stock market, eventually everything comes out. Maybe not right away, but everything eventually comes out.
Etc. Yeah.
But when it comes to crypto, you don't know what's happening in the background. What if one person is holding half of all of one single coin? Yeah. You don't know that.
Yeah.
Definitely risk. So
that is very true. Yeah, that's true. So before we move on, we'll have like a little intermission. I just wanted to say shout out to Johnny Cuba. Before we get into the next conversation, I'm going to open mine up. You guys are more than welcome to as well.
You guys don't against that one.
Yeah, of course. Can't say no.
When are we going to stay Tranquilo coin?
That's a good question, bro. We'll call it the Tranqui coin.
NFT, baby.
Yeah. Oh, shout out to the king. Cheers, boys. Choking.
It's your first
But
beer, it's
first, it's my first beer. But you touched on something about NFTs, right? So NFTs. Can you tell us a little bit about NFTs? I know it's like digital art, right? But there's people making a shit ton of money off of it right now. So what even is that space? Where did that come from? Like, do people?
Yeah.
How do people even get involved in an NFT?
It's supply and demand.
Yeah.
That's realistically what it built, the market it built. So, we're going to use Bored Apes, for example, obviously the most popular one.
Yeah.
What's the actual value behind it? Nothing. I mean, a lot of art, there's really no actual value behind it.
People are selling a concept, essentially.
Exactly. So it's a concept, an idea, and obviously a look as well, and a brand. So that's really what it is and what it's built off of. The only thing is here is that I'll bring up the screenshotting, right? A lot of people are like, hey, why don't I just screenshot it? The blockchain provides that technology where it actually shows you where, obviously, an NFT is yours. So, again, it's another market where, yes, there is going to be, I'll obviously be careful with that. There might be a correction, right, where things, die down. Liquidity is going to be a big thing with the crypto market as well, where a lot of people don't have other liquid assets. So if that market falls, people will be pulling out, things like that. But definitely be careful with it, but I'm excited to see kind of where that heads out.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it is kind of a phase right now too. Mm-hmm. Like I think people are jumping on the bandwagon. It seems too like NFTs are kind of like they're not untouchable, but they're meant for a different class of people right now. Like obviously, if you have a lot of money, you can get investing in an NFT. That just seems to be the climate. I think a little bit of it is going to kind of like balance out a little bit and these prices are going to kind of drop. But the future of NFT, I mean, you look at things like the metaverse and that kind of space. Companies are going to a completely kind of like virtual world, and I mean, we can go on a tangent about the metaverse, but in your space, how does that kind of like affect the financial world? Like, are industries kind of adjusting towards that?
So I would say very slowly.
Okay.
There's a couple companies like Facebook obviously switched to Meta.
Yeah.
And there are companies that are like trying to go towards that, but at least in finance, most companies don't change as quickly because they're so regulated.
Okay.
So I would say usually finance is the people that get there last.
Yeah.
The money might get there first, but the actual finance companies...
But the companies themselves will get there last.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? In the finance world, a lot of advisors are going to be opposed to things like this.
Yeah.
Right? Especially because we can't even, work with them with the clients.
Legally.
Besides like the ETF now with Bitcoin that just came out, that's only exception really. But in regards to the full picture of it, the metaverse in general is, I'm excited. That's I was talking to my friends about this realistically. It's that we're going to be having meetings, and one day you could have it in, a room that looks like a background with palm trees to a beach, crazy. Right?
I mean, what the metaverse is basically real life world Sims.
Yeah,
like
I was literally comparing to that. That's the best way you can put it.
That's what it is. Like I was thinking about the metaverse the other day, and I'm like, okay, so I can be friends with a virtual person. I can pretend to like have a relationship with this person. I can go to work with this virtual person. And I'm like, I used to play this game when I was a freaking little kid, and I was basically playing with Sims. Like that's what's gonna happen. Like I can work for, let's say, Google, right, and have an employee in Oregon, living in Miami, but it feels like we're here sitting in this room, basically having like a working session.
Exactly.
It is. It's. That whole entire idea is. It's
podcast. Like even this, like a podcast. Like I could have a podcast with someone in like the virtual world.
It's the whole idea is convenient. I'm myself with everything combined, like with looking at the metaverse, looking at the crypto and stuff. I do have portfolios that are built around that, right, for clients that if they understand the exposure risk and so forth. But dude, Facebook, like Square, right?
Yeah.
Changing their names to Block and Meta. That's kind of a big output just to kind of keep your eye on. So.
It really is. I remember when I first heard that they were changing their name, I was like, dude, Facebook is like, they're on another spectrum.
When Square did it, I was like, all right, Facebook's going to do it. We have one crazy guy. Yeah, we're good.
Now
Zuckerberg's there, but when I was to Jack Dorsey, he left Twitter and
exactly.
This, I was like, there's something...
Well, and he was like, I'm throwing all my marbles into that too, because he left Twitter, and now that's kind of where he's putting all his energy into, which 100%. Is crazy to see.
For
cool.
Sure.
Before we pivot on to like another subject, one thing that I wanted to highlight, what do you guys recommend for people, like obviously like we were talking about in the beginning was, money obviously can create a lot of stress in people's life, right? You know, financial hardships that comes up. What do you guys recommend? You know, what's the best way to kind of avoid the stresses of life? Obviously, there's unseen circumstances, right? That sometimes we can't plan for, but obviously there's certain things that we can do to kind of prevent ourselves from, you know, falling into those holes and kind of like taking those punches a little bit better. What are some things that you guys would recommend to best prepare for, you know, stressful situations when it comes from money?
So there's two things that I think of right off the bat. First is the emergency fund. You need to have whatever you feel comfortable with, 3, 6 months, 12 months. There's people that work in a sales or a commission-based job that they don't know when their next paycheck is. Mm-hmm. Maybe one a year, maybe one more. So whatever you're comfortable with there. And the second thing to start off, even though I love investing, if you have bad debt, you cannot do compounding interest both ways. So let's say we do a great job, we get you 15% on average. That's an amazing job. If your credit card that you owe $10,000 on is charging you 22%, you're losing money.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Bad debt is one thing we have to get rid of now. There's
bad debts.
Credit cards usually, depending on your student loans. If you do have student loans, how much your interest rate is, that's one. But anything that's over 3%, 4%, 5% in that area,
yeah, you want to take care of that.
You want to look at taking it away because it's a risk analysis there. You're getting guaranteed returns by getting rid of that.
Got it. Okay.
And then after that, you can look at retirement. One thing too, if you have a 401k, your match, you need to get that. That's 100% bonus usually. Yeah. So whatever you're putting in there, those are the things that, at least to start off, it helps a lot.
Yeah, and no matter your age, you can kind of start that process.
Yeah. I want to ask, what do you think about like debt when it comes to like buying houses and things like that? I know a lot of advisors have different opinions on that one.
Leveraging debt's good. Not too much debt, right? Understanding where your margins are and where you're able to obviously deal with personally, but nothing wrong against it, right? I'd rather somebody put down 5% to a house opposed to 20, 90% of the time, right? You know, if you're telling me this person's panicking, I'll give you an example, right? My dad doesn't like he likes to make sure that, you know, monthly cash flow's coming in, positive to his debts, his expenses, etc. Those people, yeah, you put 20% down. Not to leverage debt, but if you want to take that 5% on the conventional loan, whatever, use the other 15% to actually either use as a nest egg, use for other things, kind of give you that safety kind of talking about, make sure you're not stressed. Yeah. That's pretty much what I would normally recommend when it comes to it. But in regards to the full idea of what you should do to avoid stress, you know, with money, it's a liquidity pool, right? I used to talk about emergency fund and purposeful, right? I compare this a lot to a test. You go into a test, right? Completely blanked in study, you're done, right? You're pretty much. I mean, I've done that in college. You go into it and you're just like, wow, done so.
It never works out well.
Exactly. I don't think once, but unless you look to your left or your right. But in regards to your
problem is when you do that, the guy next to you is waiting for you. So then you're like,
all going to the right. Everybody's looking to the right. And the teachers.
You're like, shit. All right, this is not gonna work.
But yeah, but just by doing the planning, simple planning, I know nobody likes to look and see how much you're spending and what negative is, and a lot of people use this very, very carefully, but a lot of people don't want to feel stupid, right, when it comes to it. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose myself with a lot of medical stuff. Same thing with obviously finances. So just take a second, whether you can do it yourself or somebody else, look at your budget, look at your planning, organize things so you know what's going out, even if it's vacation funds, put that there. If you're organized, you know what's going to happen, and you're not worried about your investments falling.
Yeah, definitely.
There's a lot of apps that help with budgeting. If you don't want to go spreadsheets, which are a lot.
So I'm glad you brought that up because that was gonna be my next topic, right? So there's all these apps. I think I don't remember the names of them now, but Mint. There's another one that I use. I can't remember the name. Truebill, I think is what it's called.
I have pennies.
So simple. I do the exercise of the budgeting, right? Say, okay, this month I'm going to spend this much, this month. I can't follow it.
This is the best part.
I can't follow it. Dude, it doesn't make any sense. I do it. I have the spreadsheet. I think it's a beautiful looking spreadsheet. But come end of the month, come end of the year, the numbers just, they don't jive.
I get the question all the time, do you think your industry will get AI'd, right? And your job's done? Definitely not. That's why.
Okay.
Correct.
Because I can give you all the
Interesting.
resources possible, but you're definitely not going to do it, right? I could give you the paperwork to sign, and you're
No,
still
yeah.
not gonna do it, right?
The app just makes me realize how bad I am at doing it.
That's it. I use it for my clients. I have a system that I pay for. It's through my financial planning software, Right Capital. I use that, and within there, there's a budget sheet. So there's a budget program where you're able to connect your credit cards and so forth, and I'm able to see it.
Okay.
I do that, or if they like Mint and they want to use Mint, I do that, and I use it for obviously review meetings. But
Okay.
not bad to use. How do you follow up and hold yourself accountable? Realistically, just call somebody so they hold you accountable.
That's my goal for 2022 because god damn, I'm so bad at it.
Even I do it. I'm looking at my Mint. I'm like,
Dude, I'm like here like, okay, whatever, I put this money away and then it's just like nothing's happening. It just doesn't make sense. And I'm here trying to find the hole and I generally can't find it. So I know I'm not the only one that struggles with that. So that's good. That's good to know.
That's one thing. We're like personal trainers. We can tell you what to do. We can even do the exercises, but if you get home and start just eating everything,
you're screwed.
Everything we did, it's not gonna help.
Fair.
100%.
That's fair. Yeah, someone's gonna have to hit me in the face or something.
that's the app we need. You get a shock every time you go over your budget.
The shot callers. Cool. All right, sweet. So one thing really quick before too, obviously like you touched on the housing market and kind of like buying a house, right? So someone that's they've saved up enough money, right? How much of their savings should go into maybe a down payment on a home? I know you talked about like kind of like the 5%. You can qualify for like a conventional loan, FHA loan. Interest rates are starting to change a little bit, but it's I think more possible than ever to kind of put a down payment on a house. What's kind of like the rule of thumb? Like if I have X amount of dollars saved up, how much should I put aside towards putting towards a home?
Yeah, so I actually was a mortgage before this, so this is great for me.
Yeah,
so I try to stay away from FHA because the mortgage insurance is a little bit more. Now there's times you gotta do it. I still think it's better than renting most of the time.
Yeah.
That being said, if you can get conventional 5% or 20%, I still think they're both good. It just depends what you're gonna do with that difference in money. If you're just gonna hold it, do the 20%. If you're gonna invest it, the 5% makes sense because then you're actually getting some gains there. And I'm only saying this if you're a younger home buyer, younger investor.
It's something like he said too was like 5% because then the other
15%.
can leverage towards towards like emergency fund,
or you can use it for investment.
Right,
So
or like you said investing.
You can beat the interest usually. Now, if you're closer to retirement age, if you're someone that's older in their 50s, sometimes it's nice to have less debt because that's guaranteed returns that you're getting by having less debt.
Right,
For sure.
If you're younger, that's where your money. It's fun. It's fun, and you get to see it over time. It helps out.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, long story short with that, if you're gonna put 5% down on a house, realistically, have at least 20. If you're gonna put 20, have at least 40, right? So at least double the amount, potentially even 3 times the amount, depending on the scenario. But on the side, the reason why I say that is, I purchased a house a year ago. It's a never-ending game with renovating, right? Because you just want to do new things. So that's why my biggest recommendation for a lot of people, it's a very unpopular opinion, but in regards to renting, buying, don't buy until you have a certain amount. And my advice after I owned my first house, make sure that your first house you're not living in, right? Maybe rent it out, do something else, and then you can buy your other property. But that's gonna faster way to develop wealth. I told all my friends this. I didn't know what I knew I was coming into in the early stages, right, for expenses for my house. But the renovations and doing different things,
right? Those things you don't even really take
even
into
if the
account.
house is nice, right, redone.
There's always something that you're gonna do, fixing the yard, fixing
custom. You want to customize everything. So
true.
Just make sure that you understand that part, because if not, you're really. I think you talked about the compounding aspect before earlier, but in regards to expanding on that, you have to make sure that you have that money early on, right? If you're giving it away for impact windows and stuff like that, the values might raise your house value just a little bit, but what you're giving up long term in your investing side of your portfolio, it's really gonna just kind of.
Okay. So it's not really like necessarily like I have a certain amount of money, I shouldn't be putting away X amount. It's just if I have the money, figure out how much I'm willing to put down on that house, and then leverage whether I should be putting 5% or more down.
Yeah, I usually would not recommend anywhere between 5 and 20 because you're still gonna have mortgage insurance.
Right. Exactly.
Until
that makes sense. That's what makes sense. Like if you're not gonna do 20, do 5.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Correct. And then if you want to pay off extra early, you can, or the big thing is once you have your liquidity taken care of, to not have your money sitting. So once you have the money that you know,
do people use savings accounts anymore?
A lot.
You should. I can tell you this though.
You should.
You should have a savings account for your emergency funds, etc.
For emergency funds, I could see. Yeah.
I do have certain things that we use that leverage, larger than obviously the percentage you're gonna get at a bank. But in regards to savings accounts, that's gonna, in my opinion, is the crypto issue right now. Is a lot of people are taking their full savings, right, maybe leaving a little bit and just tossing to things like this where they think are gonna blow up.
Yeah.
But we never know what's gonna turn back. So I just want to put that out there as well. During the .com bubble, there was a lot of hype around the obviously the web. There was a lot of illiquidity, and that is one of the reasons why the .com bubble happened. So just make sure your liquidity is there, because if your liquidity is there, you won't get emotional about your investments, and you'll be able to obviously continue your path of your investment goals.
So savings account basically makes sense for just emergency fund type money. That's the only money that should be there. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
One thing as well, when the .com bubble happens, or whenever anything happens, that anything goes down, like the market, if you have your liquidity taken care of, you are in the position to take advantage.
Exactly. Freaking meant to that, dude, because when the pandemic hit,
for sure, yep.
Everyone that bought in
there's
March,
some people that cashed out heavy from there.
And everyone that bought in March feels like a genius.
Yeah.
And that's great, because you took advantage of the opportunity.
And the people that are able to take advantage are the people that have the liquid to do so.
The drop in COVID was a life lesson for a lot of young people, just because they kind of saw the opportunity, and it was a quick opportunity.
Exactly.
So they took advantage of it, and whether you didn't or not, you saw it, and
and you're reaping the benefits or regretting right now.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah, that's for damn sure. All right, cool. So before we wrap it up, we have a segment called Talk Tranqui to Me towards the end, right? So it's just quick, rapid questions. So, you both obviously will answer them, but beach or mountains? Whoever wants to go first.
Beach for me.
Beach for you?
Easy.
Beach.
Yeah,
Beach.
Come on.
Like not even a discussion?
Nah, we live right here.
Beach here, John.
Doesn't it?
What else you need?
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. I always say beach too, but I ironically, out of the two that I've done so far since like the new reboot, both have been mountains.
I like mountains. I mean, go see them for a little bit, but it's nothing like the beach.
Beach every time. All right.
No problem.
So action movies or scary movies? It doesn't even. You know what? What's your favorite genre of movies? Because rom-coms could be in there.
I'm gonna give you a nice one. I'm gonna give you an inside scoop. Rom-coms. My girl makes fun of me all the time, but that's something I always watch, man. I don't know why.
They're my favorite.
I have no idea why. Don't ask me, but
I'm with it on that.
So I don't think I have a genre. I just like really plotty movies. So like plot twists, things like that.
Like things that like fuck with your head.
Not necessarily.
Like, what's that one
with
Leonardo DiCaprio? Yeah, Shutter Island.
That was pretty good. But like along those lines, it doesn't have to fuck with my head. But I just don't wanna.
Inception.
I don't wanna know what's happening from the beginning. Like, so for example, Avengers. I don't like Endgame, but I like Infinity War because the bad guy won. You don't expect that, so that's
fair.
It's action, but it's like it's not what always happens. So that's why I think it's good.
Okay, I can get behind that. I mean, what was it that movie? I forgot. Oh, Inception, the one where they get inside the dreams. Like
that was crazy.
Those movies get me. All right, favorite Cuban dish.
Vaca frita.
Vaca frita. It's the number one.
So
it's like the overarching number one.
Just had it last night.
Just so you guys know, I just drove 250 miles to be on the podcast.
Yeah, this guy came from Orlando.
My family lives here, so it's not the only thing. But I just got here from Orlando. I'm going to La Carreta right after. Vaca frita.
Oh, yeah. So, okay, so that goes into my next question. Who has the best vaca frita?
Oh, Havana Harry's.
Havana
Harry's. I was just there last night. I got the
vaca frita. Damn, I haven't been there.
Yeah, I've been there.
Oh my god, dude, the tres vaca frita, the one that comes with the pork, the beef, and the chicken. Oh my god.
Ooh, that's a sound
dude,
bomb.
It's.
Have you had that?
It's my fridge.
I think I had the chicken one, not the tres.
It's my fridge. I'll bring it back.
I haven't had that. I got to do that.
It's crazy.
That I got to do. It's funny because it's everyone says who has the best vaca frita. A couple times people have said La Carreta, Havana as well. But the overarching is usually abuela, and I'm surprised no one threw that out there.
My mom, I would say. So, but
I don't think they ever made vaca frita, but that other stuff. Bro.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Best croqueta? Who has best croqueta?
Canarias, yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, I had that recently actually for the first time, like last year or like this year.
I think they have like the size, overarching taste.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, It's just the whole
the girth, you know. What else? What else? Okay. Favorite travel destination you guys have been to?
Oh, that I've been to? Oh, yeah. To start with this one.
Damn. Well,
Disney?
I don't. Yeah, my backyard. Nah, so maybe not my favorite, but like definitely one of the best vacations I've had was going to Philadelphia. It was my birthday right before COVID, and we just walked the whole city, and it was so nice.
What time of the year did you go?
We went January.
Oh,
January.
so
So literally right before COVID hit. And
so it was kind of cold when you went.
It was the last day it was just freezing.
Yeah.
And I just remembered. I watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia sometimes, and it was not sunny at all.
I mean, you went late January.
Yeah, it was just like there was no sun the whole weekend. So
yeah,
it was a great time though. Reading Terminal Market.
You had Philly cheesesteak?
Yes.
Is the hype?
Jim's on 4th. So I went 2 years before with my family. The second time I went with my girlfriend. So I took her to the same spot we went to because I have a couple fraternity brothers that told me to go to that spot. It was great in the summer. I went in the winter. It wasn't that good. So I need to go again to
kind of balance out whether or not it's legit or not. Okay. Have you been to Philly?
No.
Okay.
Surprisingly, never left the country besides Bahamas.
Oh, really?
So
okay.
that's crazy because soccer pretty much ruined my life in that part.
Yeah.
we feel that.
For the sports.
But I'm going to Mexico for the first time coming up for a wedding, so that's leading on that one. But for now,
cool.
I'm going to go with Colorado.
Colorado, good choice.
Haven't been, but I want to go so bad.
I went in January, and that's where I proposed.
He says the beach guy, and his favorite place is
Bro,
Colorado.
damn,
What
yeah.
the hell, bro?
And they're Miami, so there we go. But
where'd you go when you went to Colorado?
I went with my girl. We went to Golden, went to Vail, went to Red. They kind of went around.
Oh, okay. So you were like up in the mountain area.
Yeah, and then
you flew into Denver.
Flew into Denver.
Okay.
And came back, and I told my friends, I was like, "This is awesome and all that stuff." And I have a close group of friends I grew up with, and man, a month later, we're back.
Yeah, dude, that's exactly how it was for me. When I went for my 21st birthday. I landed in Denver. It was August, so summertime.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking loved Denver. Went to Boulder. We didn't go up in the mountains, but Boulder, I mean, is essentially kind of like a mountain area. We did the hikes and stuff like that. Within like a 4-month span, I went 3 times, and then every year, every year I started going at least once a year. So the next year I went. It was February. We did like snowboarding, all that.
Such a crazy experience.
Yeah, no, it's a good time. It's a good time. All right, cool. All right. Before we end, a podcast and a book you guys recommend for people to read and listen to.
So a podcast, I got 2. One, my favorite podcast is probably Freakonomics. I don't know if anyone's listened to it, but
I've listened to it.
It's pretty much they do statistical analysis in a less lame way, and they figure out what's happening in the world. So they go over like how, for example, the 2 different parties, political parties, yes, they don't want each other to win, but they don't let anybody else in because they know if they let someone else in, changes everything.
Yeah.
And they looked at that statistically, those type of things. And then I also listen to Mad Money for stock trading. I don't trade much, but it's just nice. He's very good at giving you the sense of the market. And then a book, I don't really.
If you don't read,
I haven't read a lot, but I liked Harry Potter. So
there you go.
I loved Harry Potter. That was great, but it's not really helping. It's more entertainment.
The movies are good.
I normally listen to the Financial Advisor Success Podcast, which is a really good one. If you haven't, you definitely look into it. Financial Advisor Success Podcast. Michael Kidd sits.
Okay. No.
You have to. Yeah, it's really good.
I'll check that out.
But for obviously everybody else, Startup Stories, amazing. Just like kind of seeing where everybody started and kind of get their mind. It's a good way to kind of get a.
Have you heard the Startup? Have you heard that podcast by Michael Bloomberg?
Yeah, I have their suggestions, but I never listened.
It's cool too because it's like me and Danny were just talking about. Danny was on earlier, but he was telling about a little bit about the podcast. It's like the story of him starting his podcast business. He's interviewing people and recording like the pitches and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean stuff like that. That's entertaining for me. Book wise, I don't read a lot unless it's useful for what I'm doing at that moment. But psychology money was probably something that's different that people don't really haven't heard of. It's a good idea. It's just kind of put you kind of the mental aspect of things, but it's pretty much what I got there.
Cool stuff. All right. Well, before we go, you guys, where can they follow you, contact you? Obviously, if anyone wants to work with you guys, where can they find you and kind of get in contact with you?
Yeah, for me, it's my Instagram is Nelfern, very easy.
And as in Nancy, EL Fern.
FERN.
And we'll put it all in the.
Yeah, and
so
then
you guys can see it.
my LinkedIn is probably the best page to go to as well. Nelson Fernandez. And then my cell phone's 305-338-6863.
For any girl that wants it.
No, I got a girlfriend. Well, actually, if they want to invest,
Shit, they're already
or
calling
they
you.
help,
They're already calling.
They can text and call all they want. That's fine. Show like that.
For my stuff, it's all on High Rise Wealth Management. Instagram, I have some little content there, but a lot of the informational stuff you're gonna find is on the LinkedIn, Facebook. Have different programs consistently grabbing different blogs and so forth. My cell and so forth, they'll put it on. The other thing I'll kind of like leave you guys with as well is more of the advising side, right? I actually kind of aim more towards the planning side, but a lot of people think, hey, it's not the right time, or it's not, I don't need to do this, stuff like that. Just sit down. I mean, a lot of people like us, right? We do charge like planning fees, and we have all this stuff, but for a quick call and organizing a couple things for you, we have no issue. It's fun for us, right? It's a little thing. So, at any stage, at any point in your career, you start earning $1 more than you could have to pay Social Security and Medicare. Just call. We'll set things up. We don't even need to do the investing side. Just get in the planning stuff. Just get you organized. More than happy just to answer calls and stuff like that as well. So.
Correct.
Cool. Awesome. Well, there you guys have it. If you guys have any questions in regards to finances, obviously you guys can hit them up. Don't ask me, clearly, because I'm not the guy. But if you guys want a good beer, we got Johnny Cuba, and that's where I can help you out. So cheers, boys. Thanks for jumping on.
Of course. Appreciate you guys having me.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.